what a day it has been. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's about 6:15 Central Standard Time, November 20th. We're here in the Midwest. Welcome to Alliday Mobile Media. This is part 31 of our voter fraud series. And boy, have there been some very, very interesting developments, especially in the media. Now, we're going to talk. It's the elephant in the room. For a long time, Fox has been the go-to network for the conservative ear, if you will. And Tucker's been hailed. Tucker Carlson has been hailed as, almost put on a pedestal like a Greek god for crying out loud. And I guess he stepped over the line, so I went out and started listening to everything. I didn't think what he said was that bad. That's just my personal opinion. Some people feel he did really bad. And then I listened to Sidney Powell this morning on the clip from Marie Bartiromo. The clips will be coming up. I'll let you make your own conclusions on what's going on here. But all I can say is, wow. 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 This has taken on a life of its own. People are jumping from Fox. And again, independent-minded journalists, Holiday Mobile Media, White Rabbit Media, Drone Tech Politics. You see all these little shops popping up everywhere. And why I'm giving the shameless self-promotion, if you can help out, hit the link in the description. Time to giddy up, so I got to put a little bankroll together so I could use a donation or two here and there. Also looking for new sources. I think I might have found a really good one. I sure hope it works out, because the young lady is very, very talented. That said, ladies and gentlemen, let's get to today's clips. Keep the information coming. Keep the information coming. Do not stop. Here we go.
Grandma, how do you feel about Trump losing the election?
He didn't lose. It was a frickin' landslide, and they know it. Those Washington Democrats are the scum on top of the swamp. They knew they couldn't win shit, so they had to plan on cheating all along. Now they want us to all come together, like what they did to our president for 4 frickin' years. They can kiss my ass. Yeah. They're trying to stick us with that Biden who sold out to China. They paid him. They paid Hunter. He's the scum of the earth with his pedophile sick shit. And now we're supposed to accept him while he owes China. They can blackmail at him anytime. Get right anyway.
What's wrong with him?
He's got dementia. People don't realize it because they didn't put it on the regular news.
America's election laws violated?
The inconsistencies that you've pointed out show that there's real doubt about the election.
Victor Davis Hanson joins Mark to explain why. Sunday on Life, Liberty, and the Bin.
All of which brings us to the bombshell at the center of today's press conference. That was delivered by former prosecutor Sidney Powell, who has also served as General Mike Flynn's lawyer. For more than a week, Powell has been all over conservative media with the following story. This election was stolen by a collection of international leftists who manipulated vote tabulating software in order to flip millions of votes from Donald Trump to Joe Biden. The other day on television, Powell said of Trump that when the fraud is finally uncovered, quote, "I think we'll find he had at least 80 million votes." In other words, rigged software stole about 7 million votes in this election. Here's some of what Powell said today about the software.
One of its most characteristic features is its ability to flip votes. It can set and run an algorithm that probably ran all over the country to take a certain percentage of votes from President Trump and flip them to President Biden, which we might never have uncovered had the votes for President Trump not been so overwhelming in so many of these states that it broke the algorithm that had been plugged into the system. And that's what caused them to have to shut down in the states they shut down in.
That was a few hours ago, but Sidney Powell has been saying similar things for days. On Sunday night, we texted her after watching one of her segments. What Powell was describing would amount to the single greatest crime in American history. Millions of votes stolen in a day. Democracy destroyed. The end of our centuries-old system of self-government. Not a small thing. Now, to be perfectly clear, we did not dismiss any of it. We don't dismiss anything anymore, particularly when it's related to technology. We've talked to too many Silicon Valley whistleblowers. We've seen too much. After 4 years, this may be the single most open-minded show on television. We literally do UFO segments, not because we're crazy or had even been interested in the subject, but because there is evidence that UFOs are real and everyone lies about it. There's evidence that a lot of things that responsible people used to dismiss out of hand as ridiculous are in fact real. And we don't care who mocks it. The louder the Yale Political Science Department and the staff of the Atlantic magazine scream, "conspiracy theory," the more interested we tend to be. That's usually a sign you're over the target. A lot of people with impressive-sounding credentials in this country are frauds. They have no idea what they're doing. They're children posing as authorities, and when they're caught, they lie, and then they blame you for it. We see that every day. It's the central theme of this show, and will continue to be. So that's a long way of saying we took Sidney Powell seriously. We had no intention of fighting with her. We've always respected her work. We simply wanted to see the details. How could you not want to see them? So we invited Sidney Powell on the show. We would have given her the whole hour. We would have given her the entire week, actually, and listened quietly the whole time at rapt attention. That's a big story. But she never sent us any evidence, despite a lot of requests, polite requests, not a page. When we kept pressing, she got angry and told us to stop contacting her. When we checked with others around the Trump campaign, people in positions of authority, they told us Powell has never given them any evidence either, nor did she provide any today at the press conference. Powell did say that electronic voting is dangerous, and she's right. We're with her there. But she never demonstrated that a single actual vote was moved illegitimately by software from one candidate to another. Not one. So why are we telling you this? We're telling you this because it's true. And in the end, that's all that matters, the truth. It's our only hope. It's our best defense. And it's how we're different from them. We care what's true, and we know you care too. That's why we told you. Maybe Sidney Powell will come forward soon with details on exactly how this happened and precisely who did it. Maybe she will. We are certainly hopeful that she will. What happened with the vote counting this month, and at the polling places in Detroit, and the polling places in Philadelphia, and so much else, actually matters. It matters no matter who you voted for. It matters whether or not you think this election is already over. Until we know the answers to those questions conclusively and we can agree on them, this country will.
All right, Sydney, I want you to respond to what Tucker Carlson said last night, Sydney. I don't know if you watched it, but Tucker Carlson said that he had invited you on his show to share evidence of the software flipping votes, and he said you got angry and refused to provide evidence for your claims of voting software flipping votes. How do you respond to Tucker Carlson? Did you get angry with the show because they texted you and asked you to please provide evidence of what you're alleging?
No, I didn't get angry with the request to provide evidence. In fact, I sent an affidavit to Tucker that I had not even attached to a pleading yet to help him understand the situation, and I offered him another witness who could explain the mathematics and statistical evidence far better than I can. I'm not really a numbers person. But he was very insulting, demanding, and rude, and I told him not to contact me again in those terms.
So Sydney,
ballot contest. I've never heard one in which the Republican was excluded or the Democrat was excluded. They accomplish this nationwide in the 10 cities that are corrupt cities that they control. That's part of their plan here. In order, this whole mail thing was really done so they could steal the election. They knew they couldn't beat him. He destroyed them at the ballot box on Tuesday. He was ahead by 800,000 votes in Pennsylvania. He was ahead by 300,000 votes in Michigan. He was ahead by 400,000 votes in Wisconsin. You don't make up these leads, honestly. They went into panic mode. And that's where they made mistakes, because that's where we picked up our witnesses. At 4:30 in the morning, 3 or 4 big trucks pulled into the Detroit Center. There were 3 people left behind who were honest. 2 of our people and a Dominion employee. We have their affidavits. Here's what they saw. They saw a big truck bringing in 100,000 ballots in garbage cans, in waste paper baskets, in cardboard boxes, and in shopping baskets. And every single one of them was for Biden. And to the extent that they looked at them, it was only for Biden. No down ticket. Now why? Because they didn't have time for a down ticket. All they had time for is Biden, 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 Biden. Because they were being notified by Smartmatic in Frankfurt that Biden was way behind and they better come up with a lot more ballots. And we can prove every single thing I just said. Give us a chance, we'll prove it.
We don't, my position is this. We don't get this right, we'll never get it right. Only gets worse.
No. Well, if we don't fix this, Sean, we'll never have a free and fair election, at least for the next 30 or 40 years. These people want to destroy us. They're very, very bad people. They're not ordinary Democrats. There are wonderful Democrats in this country. They may disagree with you and me. You know them.
Republicans, many of them, maybe most of them, have gone missing in President Trump's fight for a free and fair election. Just 2 Republican congressmen to this point, Jim Jordan and James Comer, have signed on to a letter demanding investigations into the errors, irregularities, and misconduct in this year's election.
Communist Chinese Great Reset. In China, they're bragging that they own Joe Biden on national TV. They're bragging how we're locked down, but nobody else is. And how America is a bunch of cowards. But we're not a bunch of cowards, and we're learning the truth. No.
We talked a lot about with the governors about what the immediate needs are. We're going to employ the Defense Reconstructive Act to be able to go out there and dictate companies build and do following things. We need much more testing. We need much more masking. We need gloves. I asked them each to go, and I asked the National Governors Association through the Governor Cuomo and the ones on the line to let us know what their shortages are, what they only arrest for the purpose of dealing with a felony that's committed, and I don't count drunk driving as a felony.
Did you want to follow up on that?
Did you know that House Democrats got nearly 2 million more votes than Donald Trump? I say that because everybody said, well, what? Everybody turned out, and it was a great victory, a mandate. The most important thing we did 2 years ago was win the House. We won 40 seats, 31 of them in Trump districts, in the most gerrymandered, voter-suppressed political arena you could name. 40 seats, 31 in Trump districts. I said then, it's going to be harder next time because he'll be on the ballot. And it was. And it was. And so we will lose a few of those seats, a couple in a Hillary district and a few in his district. But imagine nearly 2 million more votes than Donald Trump. And people say, well, the Democrats didn't turn out. No, we did. We turned out our votes. In fact, more than 3 million more than the Republicans did. But as I said, again, in the most gerrymandered, voter-suppressed political arena with President Trump on the ballot. So I congratulate them for the seats they won. I congratulate him for the turnout that he created. He got a good vote. I don't have Joe Biden up here. What's he up to now? 78 million? 79 million. 79. But I just wanted to show you how we related to these others. So we need everything. We're a family. We're a big tent in our party. We're proud of everyone in it. The turnout was across the board. We do believe that our House races in Michigan, Pennsylvania, Nevada, Arizona, Georgia contributed to those electoral college successes, and across the country to the almost 79 million votes that Joe Biden had. We're very proud of him and Kamala Harris. We're proud of him as a unifier for our country, and we're proud of the big vote that House Democrats contributed to that success. Because so many people were saying, well, this and that and this. No. We want more, and we will have more, and we've already started that. But I want you to be sure you knew nearly 2 million more votes than Donald Trump. Any questions?
Something that I would note is just we talked a lot about transfer of power in the election, and it's worth remembering that this president was never given an orderly transition of power. His presidency was never accepted. In fact, before his election, we know Crossfire Hurricane was launched by Peter Strzok to pursue baseless allegations about the president's ties with Russia. That's before he was president, trying to subvert the will of the American people. We know in August, Peter Strzok wrote a text message about an insurance policy against a Trump presidency, once again trying to silence the voice of the American people. In 2016, we know in October that there was a FISA warrant taken out to spy on the Trump campaign. And then the American people spoke, and they spoke commandingly in electing President Trump despite all of the odds. And what happened after he was elected? You had 70 lawmakers say we're not coming to his inauguration. Democratic lawmakers. You had Elizabeth Warren saying, we're going to attempt to obstruct the Trump transition by urging the Government Accountability Office to investigate the incoming Trump transition. In January of that year, you had President Obama have a by-the-book meeting where they talked about the Logan Act, using that act to go after Lieutenant General Michael Flynn. Just before the inauguration, you had BuzzFeed promoting and publishing this bogus Steele dossier that's been widely debunked. And then for 2 years, you had the basis Mueller investigation, which searched for collusion, found none, and exonerated President Trump. While in 2016, President Trump became the duly elected president, many sought to undermine him, discredit him, delegitimize him, and deny his victory. There were no calls for unity. There were no calls for healing. So while every legal vote is counted, let us not forget the inexcusable transition, or lack thereof, that President Trump had to endure in 2016 and 4 years into his presidency. Thank you, everyone, for the very good and substantive questions today. I don't call an activist.
I'm not an activist, and you have taken questions since October 1st.
You gotta love, I don't call on activists. You know, whether you agree with what Tucker did or not, I don't know. That's not for me to say. I will say this. I want to know where the FBI is. I want to know where the Department of Justice is. I would like to know why is the mainstream media, why are the media outlets trying to suppress this information? Why do they keep saying, I mean, let's think about it. There's no fraud. There's no evidence of fraud. There's no evidence of widespread fraud. There's no evidence of massive fraud. And every time they change the goalpost on what type of fraud, they produced it. They produced fraud, then they produced widespread fraud, and then they produced massive fraud. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry, but there can be no questions. There's fraud, and there is problems with this election. And for the media not to be investigative journalists and go after this, I'm just, it's appalling. It really is appalling. We were talking about news media people today, and that's the way it is. Walter Cronkite with his catchphrase. News used to be delivered in a very monotone fashion, and it was a set of facts that were delivered to you, and you had to sort things out for yourself. It wasn't all these emotionally charged tirades and speaking performances that we see today. I miss the news. I miss just getting the facts, being able to go out and take a look at what's going on and sorting things out for myself. Maybe we'll get back to that. Maybe we won't. I do not know. But I do know this. If you're not asking questions, ladies and gentlemen, there's something seriously wrong, because there is something seriously wrong with this election. And that's all I can say on that. That's all I'm going to say. Questions need to be answered, and we deserve answers. On that note, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to get out of here tonight. Let's have a great evening, and let's all be safe out there, huh?